This week's report on conditions will cover a cut and rescue traffic collision in Jurupa Valley, structure fires in Rubidoux and Wildomar. We'll also take a look at year-end stats highlighting the strong work of our first responders.
Stand by for reporting conditions.
Happy New Year, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department's Report on Conditions. I'm Richard Cordova. If you're enjoying the show, please be sure to like the video and subscribe on YouTube. As we kick off our show, we like to highlight our law enforcement officers in honoring of National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day this past Sunday. The Riverside unit is lucky to have 10 dedicated law enforcement peace officers that work tirelessly throughout the county. Thank you all for your service. Over the past 2 weeks between December 27th through January 9th, our firefighters responded to 7,898 calls for service. Of these incidents, 6,781 were medical emergencies and 738 were fire-related calls. Of the fire calls, 23 were vegetation fires and 45 were structure fires. Now let's take a look at a few highlighted incidents from this past week. Our first highlighted incident occurred on Monday, January 3rd at 6:39 a.m. Dispatchers received reports of a traffic collision with education at the intersection of Etiwanda Avenue and Belgrave Avenue. Firefighters arrived to report 2 vehicles with major damage and 1 occupant trapped. Once extricated, the trapped patient was transported to an area hospital for treatment for serious injuries. A second patient with minor injuries declined treatment. Our next incident on Wednesday, January 5th, also occurred in Rubidoux, just after 1 a.m. Rescues were dispatched to reports of a residential structure fire at the 5300 block of El Rio Avenue. The battalion chief, who was first on scene, reported a working fire in a single-family home. Firefighters were faced with heavy fire conditions, including a partial roof collapse, that thankfully yielded to no injuries. 2 civilians were transported to an area hospital for treatment of minor injuries. 3 occupants were displaced. Damages were estimated at $200,000. Also on Wednesday, January 5th at 9 a.m., Riverside County Fire Department dispatchers received multiple reports of a residential structure fire at the 24,500 block of Raymond Street in Wildomar. Let's watch a previous recorded incident update from the scene with Battalion Chief Jeff Roberts.
Hi, my name is Jeff Roberts, Battalion 3112. The fire was kept to the building of origin. We had an exposure to a detached garage on one side where the firefighters made an aggressive attack and were able to keep minimal damage to the detached garage. The single-family dwelling was all a complete loss. And we had an exposure on the west side of the residence, placed a total of 3 people, 1 adult and 2 children.
Over the weekend, firefighters in New York battled one of the worst fires in modern history of New York, as 19 people perished in an apartment fire that was started by a personal space heater. Before you fire up that furnace or plug in that space heater, please follow these tips to keep you and your loved ones safe on those cold days and nights. Keep anything that can burn at least 3 feet or 1 meter away from heating equipment, like the furnace, fireplace, wood stove, or portable space heater. Have a 3-foot or 1 meter kid-free zone around open fires and space heaters. Never use your oven to heat your home. Have a qualified professional install stationary space heating equipment, water heaters, or central heating equipment according to the local codes and manufacturer's instructions. Have heating equipment and chimneys cleaned and inspected every year by a qualified professional. Remember to turn portable heaters off when leaving the room or going to bed. Always use the right kind of fuel specified by the manufacturer for fuel-burning space heaters. Make sure the fireplace has a sturdy screen to stop sparks from flying into the room. Ashes should be cooled before putting them in a metal container. Keep the container a safe distance away from your home. Test smoke alarms at least once a month.
Hi, I'm engineer Jason Gumbert, and this is Did You Know? So members of our truck company are qualified and trained to respond to water rescues. So here at Station 76, we average over a dozen water rescues a year. So this is firefighter Nick Gilman. He's wearing our personal protective equipment for our water rescue team. He has a helmet with a light, a personal flotation device, a dry suit with gloves, fins, a rope bag, and protective footwear. This boat gets inflated when we get put into a water rescue configuration. We can keep 4 personnel in there. We can use it to make victim rescues. It's also unique to where we can use it with rope systems as well as using it like a normal boat with oars. We can configure into water rescue within 15 to 20 minutes from start. That's blowing up the raft and getting everything together, all of our gear assembled and PPE.
Please join us in congratulating Riverside County Fire Department's Brittany Ferguson in her promotion to Fire Safety Specialist and Miguel Cortez in his promotion to Storekeeper Supervisor. We would also like to congratulate Tim Chavez, who was recently promoted from Battalion Chief in the San Jacinto Battalion to Assistant Chief of CAL FIRE's Wildfire Forecast Threat Intelligence Integration Center. As the year ended, many capped off the end of their careers. From County Service, we would like to congratulate Fire Prevention Technician Karen Fletcher, who retired with 26 years of service. On the state side, we'd like to celebrate the careers of the following retirees: Deputy Chief Todd Williams, with 31 years of service; Division Chief John Cortez, with 30 years of service; Fire Captain James Agape, with 27 years of service; Fire Captain Scott Bryson, 20 years of service; Fire Captain Jeffrey Griffith, 27 years of service; Fire Captain Mick Sebastian, 22 years of service; Firefighter 2 Paramedic Tom G. McBride II, with 16 years of service; and Firefighter 2 Robert E. Roberts, with 21 years of service. We wish you all and your families well as you begin your new adventures.
It was a busy year for our first responders and support teams. Let's take a look at some of our year-end statistics for 2021. CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department responded to 183,482 calls for service, an increase of more than 12,000 calls, or 10% from the previous year. This continues a trend of increased calls for service year after year. The busiest battalion was Battalion 9, the Moreno Valley Battalion. They responded to just shy of 22,000 calls. Engine 37 out of Desert Hot Springs takes the crown for the busiest Type 1 engine, with a total of 5,215 incident responses. Engine 3165 was our busiest Type 3 engine. Based out of San Jacinto, they responded to 1,543 calls. For the truckies, Quint 90 stayed busy with a total of 3,764 calls in and around the North Paris area, and Truck 2 in Moreno Valley responded to a total of 2,299 incidents. Our medic squads around the county were as busy as ever. Sun City Station 7 topped the list with 4,172 incidents. For ambulances, Medic Unit 71 in North Palm Springs had 3,362 calls for service. Finally, our busiest chief officer, at least from a calls perspective, was Battalion Chief Jeff Roberts, who responded to 371 incidents.
Thank you for watching this week's Report on Conditions. We would like to close the show in memory of Fire Captain Shane Porter, who passed away on January 9th. He will be greatly missed.